they don't automatically just do whatever you say. They use their professional judgment and experience. I have concerns that your expectations of what any court-appointed counsel might do as far as spending time with you and the depth and degree of communication may be unrealistic expectations.
Today, Sarah Boone makes a court appearance. Frank Bankowitz, her sixth attorney, has tried to withdraw twice already. Let's see if it gets granted. I already know the answer to that. So this is the motion to withdraw Frank J. Bankowitz. He has cited that there is irreconcilable differences between the two of them, which I can see because Sarah Boone has been lambasting the crap out of Bankowitz in her letters to the judge. And, you know, Frank Bankowitz have seen those letters. Bankowitz has also said that the defendant will not be satisfied with any attorney unless said attorney does not have a caseload and can dedicate his or her time solely to Ms. Boone's case. Now, you guys got to remember, Sarah Boone is not paying for these lawyers out of her pocket. Not directly out of her pocket, maybe like her tax dollars are going towards it, but she's not paying for these lawyers out of her own pocket. These are public defenders that are assigned to her. So, you know, I think at some point in the hearing, the judge is like, you know, if you want someone that's going to really dedicate their time to you, maybe, you know, you have to look at a private attorney. And even with private attorneys, they probably have other caseloads as well. But, you know, they're basically saying that like, hey, you know, like people are paying for this, other people are paying for this. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be the only person that they're going to prioritize. They're going to have to balance it out with other caseloads that they have. The interesting thing that Frank Bankowitz did in this motion was that he did throw a jab at Sarah Boone, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't know why it's highlighting like this. He says, the best possible avenue is for the defendant to represent herself as no attorney can satisfy her. I thought this was kind of spicy. I was like, is he allowed to write this in there? I don't know. I have seen attorneys write spicy things in motions before, specifically Ben Shue. But I don't know if you're allowed to do this, but you know, he did it. And I thought it was really interesting and it was kind of spicy. Defense was going to have an expert attorney that they were going to, an expert witness that they were going to hire. And I believe this expert witness was for the defense of the battered spouse defense, right? And so they needed JAC to approve the rates in order to have this as their expert witness because they couldn't find someone within the pay rate that the state was willing to pay. The only other expert that was willing to do it is someone that's way outside the scope of that. So we're going to listen to the hearing and observe at how docile and quiet she is, kind of meek when she's talking to the judge versus the tone, the language, when she's writing these letters to the judge. It's a world of a difference. It's kind of like a little chihuahua that has a huge bark, but they wouldn't confront it, kind of just like, oh, okay, never mind. Let me just back away. Do we know if they're broadcasting the trial when it finally happens, Aurora, for the Boone one? I'm assuming so because all the pretrial stuff has been shown. I'm assuming so. She's a keyboard warrior, but with the letters. She's probably like a Reddit poster. You know, some of the Reddit people are so spicy, but then when confronted, they're probably just like,
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Y'all see what she got in her hand right there? Last time she came with a stack of papers. Now she got... what she got in there? Looks kind of thick.
Can I have JAC announce themselves as well?
Yes, Audrey Moore for JAC.
All right. So we have multiple matters scheduled this morning, one of which is Mr. Bankwitz's motion to withdraw. My reading of the law is I feel like I have to address that motion first and rule on that before I can address any other motions that would be heard today. So, Mr. Bankwitz, I'll start with you. Tell me why.
Yeah, because they had other things that was supposed to be discussed today, but if Bankwitz is not going to be the lawyer, then there's no point because there's going to have to be another lawyer on the case. And the other lawyer, you know, he might want to do things differently, might want to hire a different expert witness and all that stuff. So, Mr. Bankowitz, tell us why you want to withdraw.
Mr. Bankwitz, I'll start with you. Tell me why you're moving to withdraw.
Judge, the letters that have been coming to your honor, the derogatory berating of my services in this case, I can't effectively represent her.
The letters that he's going to refer to is going to be a August 26th letter and an August 30 letter that she wrote recently to the judge. Now, she didn't know that her attorney was withdrawing. How she actually found out was that, this is her words, by the way, don't know if it's true. She said that a court TV person faked their identity and said that they were friends with her so they can get into an interview to see her. And so basically showing up under false pretenses. And so, she sees this person who's her friend and ends up being a court TV person. And that's how she finds out that her sixth attorney was planning on withdrawing. She said she didn't even know. Some of the insults that she throws at Frank Bankowitz. Okay, so this is her again calculating everything, but she basically just insults Frank Bankowitz, saying that I do remember her calling him a dud and essentially saying that, he's been dodging her, not answering her phone calls. And he has spent about 7 hours with her, but that's not enough. Like, she wants to be on everything. She wants to be on top of things. I don't know I don't know. But she had, okay, this one's upside down. Who did that? But yeah, she, basically talks crap about Frank Bankowitz, and she's extremely, extremely condescending to the judge.
She doesn't trust me. She calls me a dud, I think, a buffoon.
A dud?
On and on and on and on. And no one should have to endure that type of.
Wait, I'm sorry. I wonder if Court TV, we're going to go over to Court TV.
The derogatory berating of my services in this case, I can't effectively represent her. She doesn't trust me. She calls me a dud, I think, a buffoon, on and on and on and on. And no one should have to endure that type of derogatory comments and expect to effectively represent someone, especially in a murder case.
Ms. Boone, I read your letter dated August 26, 2023, and your letter dated August 30th, 2023.
4 days
Just so
apart?
we're clear, I read all of the letters that you send to the court. Whether I respond or not is based on what's in the letter.
Her issue that she's been having, she's like, why isn't the judge responding to my letters? Why am I not getting a copy of my letters? Are my letters being uploaded? What's going on? And so she's made a lot of, she made a lot of accusations towards the judge. And, the judge is basically saying that, like, hey, I look at your letters, but I mean, if it warrants a response, it warrants a response. But I feel like when I read these letters, I don't need to respond to you.
And whether I'm asked to actually do something that's within my purview as a judge or not. If I understand correctly, you have now decided that you think it would be best, in fact, if Mr. Bankowitz was allowed to withdraw. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, she wrote in her letter, she was like, she's allowing him to withdraw. Now, I have wondered as well, though, how come she didn't get the notice? Because I feel like when Bankowitz put in a notice to withdraw, she should have been given a heads up about that. When was that? Notice to withdraw. That was 8/22. Maybe there's a delay or something. 8/22, and then she wrote the letter, 4 days later. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know why she didn't get an update. I feel like she needed a heads up, like, hey, by the way, your lawyer wants to withdraw. I don't know if it's usual for you to get updates when you actually have a hearing, and that's where you get updated with your lawyers. I don't know.
Yes.
All right. And you understand was allowed to withdraw. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you understand by him withdrawing, I'll have to appoint another attorney. Do you understand that?
Do.
And that attorney's not standing here, so we're not going to be able to address, and I'll give the state a chance to talk to me as well. But assuming I grant this, we won't be able to address the other issues that were docketed for today, which means I'm going to have to reset your case for a later date. Do you understand that?
I'm not sure what items it is you're speaking of. I haven't received a copy yet of the letter.
I'm sorry, but this is going to piss me the fuck off. Okay, just listen closely. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm going to tear her to shreds for a little bit.
In here, so we're not going to be able to address, and I'll give the state a chance to talk to me as well. But assuming I grant this, we won't be able to address the other issues that were docketed for today, which means I'm going to have to reset your case for a later date. Do you understand that?
I'm not sure what items it is you're speaking of. I haven't received a copy yet of the letter.
You idiot. You were there when they discussed this. We literally had a hearing that you have been requesting to show up, to be present for. Are you not listening? Are you not listening? We literally had a hearing where they went over what they were going to discuss. Okay. This is from a month ago. Literally says,
Mr. Cacciatore, Ms. Boone's present. Mr. Bankwitz is asking to continue the case so that we're going to have a hearing with JAC on his request for funding for a defense expert. Given my understanding of the case, that defense expert would be crucial to at least one defense that's going to be offered in case.
this is literally going to be discussed today. Was she not listening? Was she not hearing? What's the point of you wanting to attend these hearings if you're not going to pay attention? So the judge was like, okay, if you get a new lawyer, there were things that were supposed to be discussed today that we agreed to from last time. That's going to be pushed. And she's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, well, you're not here at the previous hearing. If you were listening, you would know that the other stuff that they're going to talk about was them approving, hiring your expert witness for the battered spouse defense, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what's the point of you being here if you're not even listening and you're not even paying attention? She's like, I haven't received a copy. No, idiot. You were there at the previous hearing. You should know what they were going to discuss today. Take some notes. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what items it is you're speaking of. I haven't received a copy yet of the letter.
What letter? You were sitting there. I'm sorry.
So we also were having a hearing today in regards to authorization for payment for an expert that your attorney believes he needs to defend you.
Which they literally mentioned at the previous hearing.
An issue about the compensation of that expert, which is why JAC is participating today. I don't know if your next lawyer is going to think that that expert's the right person to use, or whether they're going to go a different route after consulting with you. And even if they did, they're not standing here. And once Mr. Bankwitz is out, he's out. He can't argue the motion. So do you understand that?
I fully understand.
All right.
Okay, maybe you should take some notes because last time, obviously, you weren't understanding what's going on at the hearing and maybe you weren't paying attention.
Mr. Cacciatore, normally the state takes no position in these issues, but there are limited circumstances when the state does take a position. So are you taking a position on this motion withdrawal, Mr. Cacciatore?
No, this would be one of those times where we would be not taking a position.
All right. So I'm going to.
She'll go back at the next year and be like, where Frank at? Okay, so Jasmine says, thank you for the $9.99, by the way. She would have been given a copy of the filed document, but it gets sent via, snail mail. It's likely the press saw the docket update that the motion was filed before she got her copy in the mail. So I wonder if she did end up getting the copy at some point.
Grant Mr. Bankwitz's motion to withdraw. I'm going to appoint, find my list, Attorney Winston Hobson to represent Ms. Boone. In regards to the other matters scheduled today, I'm going to take no action on them at this time until Mr. Hobson can, in regards to the motion.
Good luck, Mr. Hobson. You got this. We're rooting for you. You got this.
Involving JAC, I'm simply going to take no action on that motion at this point in time until Mr. Hobson has a chance to review it and determine whether he wants to proceed with that motion. I will address the pretrial because today was also supposed to be pretrial.
Get over, should you pay attention, G's? Listen, she's been fighting. She's been fighting in these letters to be a part of these hearings. She wants to be part of it. She wants to listen to what's going on. But the fact that she wasn't paying attention to the previous hearing, and when the judge is like, hey, we had some other stuff to cover, and she's like, well, I didn't get the letter. Yeah, there's no letter about it. If you're sitting and listening to the previous hearing, then you understand what was on the docket for today.
Here's what we'll do.
Maybe she's dragging it out.
Let me just get my calendar up.
She's been there for 4 years now. A lot of years.
As far as pretrial conference, I'm going to set this case for pretrial conference on Tuesday, November 28th, and a trial period starting Monday, December 11th. I think any earlier period of time would be unrealistic for Mr. Hobson to get on board, get up to speed with the discovery, and determine how he wants to proceed in regards to any experts.
Wow, 3
But I
months.
will set a status hearing on the case prior to that.
Here's what I'm hoping, though. I know that before, when we had some attorneys withdraw, they assigned another attorney, like another public defender. But later on, the public defender was like, "Oh, hey, I actually can't represent her because there's a conflict of interest." Da, 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 da. So I hope that they already did their research, and maybe discuss it with potential seventh attorney. Like, hey, like you might potentially be assigned this. Can you please research ahead of time to see if you might have a conflict of interest on representing her? I hope he's not just like willy-nilly just assigning it like on the spot. I don't know how they do this, but I hope that, they contacted seventh attorney ahead of time, was like, hey, can you just double check? Make sure there's no conflict of interest. Like, let's get this going. Let's get the ball moving. Could they dismiss her case if it's dragged her for too long? I did hear about someone who was essentially waiting for trial for like 10 years or something. It popped up on my feed and got his case dismissed because he was just sitting there waiting for like 10 years for his trial to happen. I don't know, something like that. Oh, conflicts are usually done by the newly assigned attorney. The judge usually doesn't ask them ahead of time. Gotcha. So, I mean, we'll see what happens to seventh attorney. Seventh attorney could also have a conflict of interest, but we'll see. Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper's so gross. I'm sorry, guys. I would have talked about, and I was like, you know what? My mod likes Dr. Pepper. I'll try it. It was so gross.
I'll set a status hearing on the case Monday, October 30th, 2023 at 10 a.m.
Like a month and a half from now.
That'll be for the purpose of making sure that Mr. Hobson's on board, some sense of where he thinks things are, how realistic he thinks the November pretrial is, any other matters I need to address with him at that time. Now, Ms. Boone, in just a minute, they're going to take you back to the Orange County Jail. I'm going to suggest that you talk to Mr. Hobson about the various other issues you raised in your letter dated August.
She had a lot to say in her letter or letters, but when I was watching this, I was trying to see if she was going to try to get some words in. Because like I said, in her letters, she's very condescending, but when she makes these court appearances, she's very meek. I thought she'd be a little bit more pushier to get a little bit more talk time to the judge, but no.
August 30th, 2023. One other thing I want to talk to you about, we had this conversation once in the past. Clearly, your working relationship with Mr. Banquets was such that it deteriorated to the point where the two of y'all just couldn't work together to defend your case. So I'm not going to try to referee how that played out, why that unfolded the way it did. But one thing I want to caution you about, if this becomes a problem on another court-appointed attorney, I'm going to look more closely at what the alleged disputes are. You have a right to a court-appointed lawyer. There are certain decisions a defendant gets to make in the defense of their case that are absolutely theirs, such as whether they go to trial or not, such as whether they testify or not. But there are many decisions in a case that a lawyer gets to make. And while you certainly have a right to consult with your lawyer and discuss with your lawyer, they don't automatically just do whatever you say. They use their professional judgment and experience and look.
Because they went to law school, you didn't. I mean,
You say they use their professional judgment and experience and look at the evidence, look at the law, and do the best they can. Also, you've got court-appointed counsel. As I've explained to you before, court-appointed counsel rarely have the luxury of representing one person and only having one case to focus on. I have concerns that your expectations of what any court-appointed counsel might do as far as spending time with you and the depth and degree of communication may be unrealistic expectations. You always have the right to retain a lawyer to represent you, and then that's between you and that lawyer.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. I don't think she can afford it. So, like, if you guys look on her, all the stuff that they uploaded the lease agreement because at some point she was kicked out of her apartment because, you know, when you murder someone in the apartment, well, your lease agreement gets terminated. So she put in there that she gets like $300 weekly, and does she have any money in the bank account? She only got like $400, I think. It says $400 in her bank account when she signed this lease agreement, which was what, like a couple years ago. So I don't know, maybe she got that much money in there. Maybe she doesn't really save up money. I don't know. I don't know what she did. What was her income? Where she was getting her money from? But I mean, it's clearly, you know, she can't afford to hire a private attorney. So, you know, this is what happens.
You can
I don't even know if private attorneys even have that much time to even dedicate. Because, you know, like I said, they're probably juggling other cases as well.
demand whatever expectations that you have as part of that agreement. But when it's a court-appointed lawyer, you have to accept and understand that they have other cases, other courtrooms, other responsibilities. And I'm cognizant of that when I'm addressing these types of issues about communication. So,
That's what I was wondering as well. Income was coming from her ex-husband. I figured it was probably for maybe like alimony or maybe like maybe child support or something like that. Unless she filled it incorrectly. She said she was getting zero from like child support or anything like that. Oh, the sale of their home. Oh, okay.
so that's just food for thought, nothing to do today. I don't need a response from you. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that and were thinking about that as we proceeded forward. So again, the court minutes reflect that court continuing pretrial. I have granted the motion withdraw. I have appointed Mr. Hobson to represent the defendant, and I'm taking no action on the motion, the ex parte motion for cost directed where GAC is responding. Ms. Boone will be returned to the Orange County Jail pending disposition of her case.
Yeah, does she not say anything else? Hold on, let's see if there's anything else that... I'm just surprised that she's not as pushy as in person.
All right.
I'm not able to say anything.
Did she say no?
All right.
I'm not able to say anything.
I don't know what she said. Something, if you may want to say anything? She says no?
That's his information.
Okay. She said it. I thought it was a bailiff. Oh, I couldn't tell.
All right.
I'm not able to say anything.
Am I able to say anything? Okay, they said no. Okay.
That's his information.